Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. I am here with Mike from the Blair House, and I'm here with Jim from KSPS, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we've been doing this weekend at the Gettysburg Bash. So here to introduce them, I'll let them introduce themselves, and we'll tell you a little bit about what's been going on. Mike, you want to go first? Tell about what you're here to do and what you're doing.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Mike Simpson. I've been in the paranormal field for about 7.5 years. 5 years with a team in Columbus, Ohio called the Greater Ohio Spirit Trackers, and a couple of years with an actual company that we traveled the USA hosting events called Ghost Hunts USA. So now I'm at a point where I'm kind of independent. I do a lot of work with a great team, great friends of mine, Keystone State Paranormal Society.
Fantastic.
We've done a lot of investigating together, including the place that I'm helping with this weekend, my good friend Kristen Lee and her husband Daniel Ho of the Blair House. So that's why I'm here this year. First year in Gettysburg, we're having a blast, helping out Kristen Lee, spreading the word about the Blair House. This is day 3. The things that have happened to me this weekend in Gettysburg have never happened to me in 7.5 years. So share two quick stories. First one, day 1, Kristen, Daniel, and I are eating at a local restaurant. We're sitting down. All of a sudden, we hear boom, boom. Did you hear that, Kristen? Yeah. Dan, you hear that? Yeah. I heard it. We asked the waitress, we asked people around us, did you guys hear the boom, boom? And they said no. So we thought maybe they're firing cannons. Maybe that's something they do. I looked down at my clock, and it said 8:22, and nobody said they're firing cannons. The other quick story, getting out of my room, I think it was 5:16, out of the shower, look at the mirror, it's all foggy as normal, and all of a sudden I see writing. I'm thinking, well, the door's locked, I'm the only one in there. What is writing on the mirror? And I'm telling you, it reminded me of the scene of The Shining. Red rum. Murder spelled backwards. People are going to say you're crazy. People that know me, that I'm in this for the real deal.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fake anything, stage anything. I don't want to be around anybody that would fake or stage.
Yeah.
So a couple of quick stories, but I mean, we've met some fascinating people this weekend. Of course, finally to get to meet you, Cisco, was awesome, and we had a great time. Local friends of ours, Terry and Amanda Thomas, invited us to their house to investigate. Here comes Haley and Dave from Keystone State Paranormal Society.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we got to go to their house and do a little investigation. Of course, Cisco, you and I, and James, and some other people were down in the basement. We're not going to give you much of the details because that's for later. But the session that we had in the basement was amazing. We know that there was soldiers in the basement, and a lot of the soldiers wanted help. They wanted to see the light. And Cisco did an amazing thing, and we'll talk about that another time. But it's been an amazing weekend. The people we have met, the tribute to the little girl McKenna with the gentleman that plays Batman, I believe his name's John Buckland, with the Batmobile here, and the ceremony that he had was so touching with her. The mayor did an introduction. I can't remember the lady that came on and spoke after the mayor. Miss Helen Ranger. She was phenomenal. And Pam and Steve have just done a phenomenal job of putting this thing together. And now we're in day 3. And
well, the thing that gets me, a second, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike, but the thing that gets me is this is it. I'm here with Mike Simpson and James Wyrick, and now Dave has walked in here too. These are my brothers, and the point of this whole weekend, and Haley is here, is wounded warriors. Don't forget the vets. Freedom isn't free, but what we do tend to forget is that it goes back. It goes back in time. And here in Gettysburg or in Pennsylvania, listen, no more bloodshed was ever shed in 3 days than here on these grounds. These are hallowed grounds, just like it said in the Gettysburg Address. We can't, add or detract from that. But what we could do is we could go down in that cellar when our brothers called out and wanted help. We could go in that field and we asked them, do you want help? The answer that came back, I believe, was please, in several different ways. And that's where I'm at. Leave no man behind. Don't forget your brothers and your sisters that have done that. So we did the ultimate save, I think, this weekend, and that's only because of good souls and good people. We had a fantastic chemistry throughout that evening and outside on the grounds, and that's what it takes. Brothers coming together to help brothers. So that's that. And I was pleased to spend several hours in a dark cellar in the dust and the dank and the spiders and everything else with these beautiful people. So anything else you want to finish up with, Mike? Go ahead.
Okay. Real quickly. So we're on day 3, and we're excited what's going to happen today in the final. I know, and maybe James or Dave can touch more part of what the ceremonies are going to be today. But it's just the atmosphere and the chemistry, and there's so many people. We're all here for the same passion. It doesn't matter if you're into Bigfoot, UFOs, the paranormal, obviously the wounded warriors helping to support that great cause, but we're all here for the same reason. And it's an honor to be here, and there's so much love, and that's what it's all about.
There you go. Thanks so much, Mike. Now we're going to hear a little bit from Jim from KSPS. Now that's Keystone State Paranormal Society, and my listeners know them dearly and love them dearly and know a lot about them. So we're getting a whole nother taste of it today. Here we go, Jim.
I want to say hi to everyone. Pardon me, Mike has a great radio voice. There's a West Coast gentleman who Dave and I have done a show before called Jeff Rentz. And if you'll listen to Jeff Rentz,
that's what Mike sounds like.
it's the same voice.
Yeah.
So we've always, that's sort of
matter of fact, the first time we met Mike, he told us his name was Mike. We're like, no, it's not. It's Jeff. We've listened to you for years.
And one of the really neat things, we've met Cisco and talked with her because we were on each other's shows, and it's really great to be able to meet the voice and put the face to it. And we have had a chance to meet a number of the people who've watched our shows and commented and are there pretty faithfully. So that's always a blessing. The thing that's impressed me is when you get to talking with all the groups, and this always impresses me from when Dave and I first started. We never knew what to expect. When you're walking in, we didn't know if it's going to be a Star Trek convention, a Comic-Con, whatever. No, if anyone's never come out to these events, what you're going to find is people with all different walks of life, all different trials and tribulations, but all different degrees of intelligence. They all have their gift or their ability, and we really can learn from that. I learn immensely. I don't want you to blush, but the other night, the session, which you'll be hearing at some point, I got to see Cisco in action, and it was unique. It was a wonderful style. Again, we're not revealing the details, but quite honestly, it took a while for her to more or less build and capture the faith and trust that the other side had. And then once they did, you could see them sort of from a back, you could see them drawing toward her and then starting to listen to her, and then finally acting, which was the big key on what she said. So that was an amazing work, just to sit back and be able to watch that. Like I said, we have learned from so many different people. We all have different styles and techniques. I guess the one thing, and Mike's really big on this as well, is the integrity. Mm-hmm. And the honesty.
Absolutely.
And I'll add one other thing, and that's the spirituality.
And the chemistry.
Yeah,
it was all right. It clicked.
If it's all correct, spirit comes out. And the key is always, spirit has to want to connect with you. cannot force the issue. You can sense spirits there. If it doesn't want to make itself available, you can't force it.
Nope.
And so that combination of, like I said, integrity, spirituality, honesty, chemistry, all that, when it comes together, spirit comes out. And it truly is enlightening. And I've always had my spirituality built. I'm an active churchgoer. I'm not in church today because I'm here. I think the bishop knows it, so I'm cool with that. This isn't an everyday occurrence. But I have to tell you that the sessions we've had with Spirit over the years, where you feel the love and you feel the closeness and you learn that life and love are eternal factors. And we've talked about this
Absolutely.
in the past. So Gettysburg is a very special place. I don't know if it's, as Haley's told us, it has special quartz veins and other things.
Right,
So
ley
there's
lines. Yeah.
Ley lines. So there's a geophysical reason that Spirit is able to connect here and come forth. But beyond that, there's so many other endeavors, and it is a human tragedy. It's something that I've always felt, being a historian. Historians have often said, if the South had been able to break free and form its own unit, that they think that sometime in the future, with the commonalities, the economics, we would have merged again, ultimately, as a nation. But they're also pretty firm in that nation would not have been as strong as the nation we were forged out of, the perils of that war. And that had to come into play down the road when we had World War I and ultimately World War II, where literally the ability of mankind to be able to worship free and God was at risk.
Right.
The forces that were loose on the earth at that time. I mean, it's well known by history that if Hitler had been successful, the Catholic Church he had already started to attack them. They were going under.
Yeah.
You can't
Well,
have
you can feel it now too, Jim. You can feel it, and there's people group. We're back in it.
We're getting back in those times.
Yeah.
And so I guess as wonderful as this is, and it's great friendships and that, if ever there was a time to know who you are, know what you stand for, and to maintain that spirit, whatever your base, whatever your religion, if you're Wiccan and you're praying and you work with Native, that's all fine. But you have to know who you are, what you stand for, and most of all, maintain your spirituality. Otherwise, you're going to be taken down. And they're the times we're in today.
Yeah.
We truly are, and I think we
all stand firm in our light and
Yep.
and the love, and it's the love energy, and it's the love energy that worked on that soybean field out there. It's the love energy that worked in that cellar. It's the love energy that it's working right here. And that's the way it is. And the whole theme is, like I said, leave no man behind. Man, woman, whatever. You
not
wore
to
a
leave
uniform.
on a depressive note,
Go ahead.
we know that good will ultimately triumph over evil.
Absolutely.
And light conquers darkness. We know those truths. So, sometimes it's tough when you're up against it. And and right now it seems I have so many friends and associates who are just in a very stressful part of their lives. There's all kind of different reasons for that stress, and most of it isn't anything that they've done to bring that in. It's just life, and life's trials and tribulations. So I think that's the whole quagmire. And but this is so refreshing to see the ability to honor our vets, to see the tributes coming forth. One other thing, which we'll touch real quick, they had the guy who plays Batman in the Batmobile was here yesterday. They had children who were fighting cancer, and they brought them out. They were able to ride in the car. They had special celebrations to them. The crowd was chanting and clapping and
healing,
high-fiving.
sending healing energy to them.
And there was many a wet eye. A lot. There was even some seasoned vets who basically stood in the background because their eyes were moist.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you something after that. For all my earth people out there and the healing energy and stuff, I was trying to figure something to do, so I went and bought a bunch of amethyst crystals, and I handed them out to each one of those kids and put them in their hands and said, you take this healing with you and keep fighting, because they are warriors in their own right. That is a fact. Now we have Dave. Dave, like to say a few things here, babe? Go ahead.
Sure.
Talk right in there. You're good to go.
All right. Well, first I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule, bringing Mario and your son and coming to spend some time with us.
It's been awesome.
We were delighted to have been able to help you do that.
Thank you so much.
And we were delighted that you took us up on that offer.
Mm-hmm.
You had said that your friend Tammy Knighton had watched our show and contacted you and told you that there was just something telling her to tell you that you had to watch our show.
Mm-hmm.
And
True.
you made it known to us that it was within minutes, that you just knew there had to be something, a joint thing that we had to get together and do.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think this was it. I was not able to participate in the activities in the basement. My A-type dominance personality was not welcome.
Uh-huh.
And rather than, again, like Jim said, rather than force that issue, I respected Spirit's domain, and I let you guys do what you do. And I'm not going to lie, part of me felt a little bit useless. I kind of sat out of my truck feeling like I was a glorified paranormal Uber. But, then we got to do the soybean field.
Yes.
Cool.
And
we had to ask permission. Tell them about that.
We asked permission, and Cisco went with the dowsing rods and went right down the line of the people that were there, and it selected me.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike is Navy veteran, and didn't want that.
No.
It selected me, and had nothing happened, that in and of itself was an honor.
Uh-huh.
I get choked up because, I myself am a disabled vet. Luckily, I've never needed to call the number of the group that we're supporting here this weekend. Mm-hmm. But it could just as easily could be me asking for help.
And me too.
As well yourself, so when we were offered the chance to be part of this, I don't think I gave them credit card number quick enough. I really don't.
Yeah.
And I'll figure out the logistics and the monetary payments later.
And you can't put a price on this.
No, absolutely
because
not.
How many do you think we crossed in that cellar? Honestly, with your whole heart, how many do you think walked into the light and stopped by and said thank you?
Well, I think there was more than the original group. The original number. Although that was one group. Mm-hmm. We know very well that they can be on different planes and not even aware of one another. And I think there were others. I think most.
So we helped some brothers cross.
Yes, we did. And what was special to me was when I was permitted to enter that field, I went out, let's say about 20, 25 yards.
Right.
And I spoke with my brothers.
Uh-huh.
And I did it so no one else could hear.
Uh-huh.
Because it was something for me to tell them.
Right.
And they're tired.
They're tired.
They've stood that post for, 157 years?
Yeah.
154 years, something like that. And they're tired. They want to be relieved. They don't want to go.
Yeah.
They know they still have a job to do.
Right.
And it's not my position to tell them that job has ended.
Right.
It's my job to relieve them of that post.
Yeah.
Let them get some rest.
Yeah.
And I felt honored to do that.
There you go. And that's why, we were here.
I couldn't see what was happening around me because I was so focused on delivering my message to them to stand down. You've earned your rest. Go have a shower. Go have a beer.
155
years.
And at that point in time, when you were doing that, you had fireflies came and gathered around you and were dancing around your head. You couldn't see that either, but we saw that. And that was pretty amazing.
So, like I said, though, I was not permitted in the basement and not wanted on the trails. That made all of it worth it.
Yep. Everybody had a post.
And you keep something. Respecter of spirit. I mean, that's the key.
Yeah.
You have to do if you really want to be helpful to spirit, and if you really want to communicate or be able to assist them, you have to play it by whatever rules are set forth at that time. And for whatever reason, you can't question it.
Right. And at that field, I went out. That was the first place I was drawn to, and I just went out cold. I didn't even have my dowsing rods. I was going completely on feeling, and I stood at the edge of that, and I said to them, I could see them, and I said, I know you don't want to talk to me now, and I said, I know you have a hard time speaking to me because I'm a woman, and the fact that I'm wearing pants, that was a big deal for them, because you've got to think of the Victorian time. So I apologized. I said, I apologize for my appearance, but can you read my heart and my intent? And they all started calming down. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to waste your energy. I'm going to go get a man and bring him to me. I said, I need somebody who's a vet. I came and I grabbed Mike by the shirt, literally pulled you by the T-shirt. I said, you got to come out to this field for me. And they spoke to you. And at that point in time, you cleared me. And they listened. I said, we're going in the house. We're going to be back out here. We're going to do something special. And when we all gathered at the end, we all stood there. And I told them, I said, we're here to honor you and let you know that you are not forgotten. And what came over the obelisk? Honor. Honor. And it was awesome. Welcome to this side of the gate. And tonight I am being escorted by some of the absolute wonderful ghost storytellers. They've been in this for so long, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. I have the author of Victoria's Most Haunted, Mr. Ian Gibbs, and I have the author of A Strange Little Place, and it's the hauntings and unexplained events of one small town, and that is Brennan Storr. Yes, that's right. Tonight we are being escorted through the gate by the ghost story guys. Come on in, guys.
My book is so much better than his. I can't even begin to describe it. It's ridiculous. It looks better cover.
Yeah, and mine sells. That's the big
oh,
difference.
You mother.
I am looking at both of them, and I want to, I like both of the covers. I really, and I do, the books are great. So,
good.
I'm not going to pick a favorite.
No, his is great because if your coffee table is wobbly, you can stuff it under there. If you run out of toilet paper in the cabin.
Wow.
Guys, I'm telling you, man, how hard is it to write a book, dude? You sit down and you think, how hard could it be? And it turns out to be, was it simple?
You're in. It's not hard at all. He's the son of a bitch.
I had my book writing experience is a little different than most. I ended up getting asked to do it, which was very nice.
Cool.
A lady came on the ghost tour and wanted me to write it.
Cool.
And so I said, okay. And then I had done a degree a few years ago where I had to write every single night. Uh-oh. So I was already sort of in that discipline where I just treated it like a second job.
Right.
So I'd come home from work, eat dinner, and then I would write a chapter. And if that chapter took an hour, great. If it took 3 hours, fine. Mm-hmm. But I would not stop until I'd done it. And that was really because I'm totally undisciplined. So unless I put those parameters around myself, I would absolutely find something else to do. So I knew I had to be tough on myself and do it.
Tell us about your exhaustive research process.
Shut up.
You bastard.
It's called Google. I should say I do co-lead these Ghost Walk tours in Victoria. So there was a lot of stories already in my head.
Right.
And what I would do is I would sort of nail down the details and clarify dates and things like that. But Brennan is referring to a conversation we had where he was like, oh, how did you find the archives? And I'm like, what? And he's like, the archives, the BC archives at the museum when you did your research. And I was like, they're at the museum?
Oh, bastard. I'm in there with microfilm. I'm going through old newspapers. Getting eye strained, my ass hurts.
Yeah. And
he's over. And his book is, it has genuinely outsold mine.
Yeah.
It's so hard not to swear.
You guys, you made the mistake and you looked. If you just kept it a mystery, you see, but you had to look. You had to look. See, that's where you went wrong. That's so funny. Well, tell us a little bit about it. You do tours, Ian. Now, tell us a little bit about where you do those for the listeners who don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we do them in Victoria, BC. We are based here. And we start every ghost tour at the same place at the Visitor Center right on the harbor. And then there are 7 different tours, actually 8 different tours. We do a different one every night at 7:30. And then we do what we call the classic route at 9:30 every night as well, just up until after Halloween, and then it just flips to only weekends. But during May through all the way through till the end of October, it's 7 days a week. The tours are about 90 minutes, and we walk around. No one's jumping out at you. It's not like a scare tour.
It's a historical tour.
Historical ghost stories, yeah. And there's over 500 of them in this city, so it's not hard to fill 90 minutes, that's for sure.
500 tours or 500?
500 stories, sorry.
Really?
Did I say tours?
No, I was doing clear.
Yeah,
500 stories,
over
really?
500 stories.
Holy shit, I had no idea. Sorry, pardon me, I didn't. I'll stop that. It's very good.
I'm just going to have to edit this, and it's going to be me the whole time going beep, beep,
Yeah.
beep, 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 beep.
I don't swear, so you'll be fine with
your
me.
lies make baby Jesus
You're
cry.
Okay, I don't
freaking
swear on the
liar,
mic.
Ian. I listen to your
Also not
podcast.
true.
That's too funny. Brennan, tell us a little bit about what you do, hon.
That's a tougher question.
You're the one that jumps out at all the tours that, No.
Yeah.
That's
Well, he just shows up and everyone's scared.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's not
true.
too hard.
Well, that's because of my lifelong campaign against the regime that is pants. What do I do? I'm reluctant to answer this.
That's okay, honey. If you don't know what you do, you don't have to make something up. It's okay.
I'll put it this way: I work in the cannabis industry.
Nice. Okay.
But because
it's not quite legal here yet.
No,
Understood.
it's
Just a few more days.
Okay.
Shut up.
I'll beep that out too.
No, that's fine.
So,
I
let me ask you this. This is a very important question at this point in time. What do I have to do to get you guys to sponsor me across the border? Because I'm stuck in Jersey, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, New York's, of course, I guess you're probably not that close to New York. I was going to say, I think New York's got legal.
Kind of close. I'm like halfway, if you're familiar at all with, just basically follow the shore, from New York down, go south, and I'm halfway between Asbury Park, New Jersey, and Atlantic City. I'm like right on the shore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And Jersey Shore is not a representation of what it's like here, because none of those people
you must
are from
use that
here.
disclaimer a lot.
Every time. Oh, so much. They are not from here. None of them were from here. But
I got to admit,
yeah,
I did watch the suit.
Well, it was funny because I was in Alabama when that came out, and I was really missing home, and I tried to watch it just for the nostalgia, like the bars. I'm like, I got drunk there, or just the boardwalks, because all that stuff was real. But just a soap opera or whatever this is nuts. That's crazy. It's crazy. None of us, we weren't like that. We did bonfires and, things, play guitar on the beach. You go all day on the beach. You go home, you change, you come back out. You go to it's more representation from the old Bruce Springsteen songs. That's more nostalgic of what this is like than what that show was, really.
Thank God.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah. So
Speaking
that's
of Alabama,
crazy.
I got to know. I'm curious. I spent a night in Gadsden once.
Gadsden?
Are you familiar with it?
Alabama?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Is it as bad as it felt?
Yes.
Because thought so. Because we only stayed a night there. We were just passing through. We were going from North Carolina down to Louisiana. I think down in New Orleans. And I think we ended up passing through Gadsden for a night. And it didn't, I like to go do night photography and stuff. And it didn't feel like a real great place to be doing that.
Yeah, no. There's places like that. I'm sure everybody's felt that. And what we're basically, for the listeners, what we're talking about is you're going through a place, like I had that with New Orleans. But it wasn't.
Oh, no.
But it wasn't, and I really, really wanted, I moved past it. Because I wanted to be there. I wanted to go to the French Quarter. I wanted to do all the stuff.
Yeah.
But you're moving through a thickness there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And when I was pulling out, I looked over it and I could almost see this haze. And I'm like, man, I don't know whether it was just so much energy. I'm not necessarily saying it's bad. I was saying it's just so much energy. I'm not sure what the heck was going on, but it was a definite. And there's a lot of those places all through Alabama. And I don't know whether it's, go back to native times or, there's quite a few towns there. I won't name them all now, but there were some there. I just I got to get out of here. Yeah. Yeah.
I know New Orleans. I went down there for in 2015. I went down for the International Remote Viewing Association conference.
Okay.
And as soon as I got there, I thought, oh, this felt heavy. And every time I shouldn't say every, the first 2 times I went to New Orleans, I became aware of a missing persons case within 24 hours of arriving.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think it always seems like kind of a heavy place. And then when I got there, I remember I took an Uber from the airport to my Airbnb in the Tremé. And I mentioned to the driver that I like doing night photography. And he says, yeah, not here you don't.
I know.
And then I took another Uber to the quarter to go get something to eat. And I said the same thing. And my driver in that Uber was, I think he was a former school teacher in this area. And he said, oh, no.
Yeah.
He says, you don't go anywhere by yourself at night here. No.
Yeah.
Not unless you're in a car. You don't go on foot. So I thought, okay, well, you guys, you grew up here, so you know this place better than I do. But getting back to what I do, I work for a company. I work for a consultancy that helps guide people, or that is helping guide people through the licensing process.
Cool.
Because Canada is marijuana will be ostensibly legal here on October 17th.
Okay.
My business partners think it's going to be about 3 years before they hammer out the kinks, but technically it's legal on the 17th. And so I work for a company that is helping guide people through the licensing framework. So if you're a cultivator or if you're a processor, you contact us and we help you figure out what it is you need in terms of security protocols, sanitation protocols, things like this. And then we help you connect to people who can provide those to you. So
it's such a shame. I'm sitting here listening to this because my son has a TBI, traumatic brain injury, from an accident just a year ago. And I know it could help him, and there's no way you're going to get it here. Just for other for the medicinal reasons.
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
That's how I arrived there about 3 years ago now, I guess it was. My wife had a kidney stone real bad. And the painkillers the doctors gave her, it was just making her nauseous.
Oh, yeah.
Giving her migraines. And, the stone was so substantial that it had occluded one side, basically the kidney shut down for a while. And so, nothing worked. And just in desperation, I turned to someone I knew who worked in the dispensary and asked for some chocolate, some medicated chocolate. Because my wife used to be law enforcement in England. There was no way she was ever going to smoke it. So, but I thought if I can give it to her as chocolate, it might help. And it did. And throughout the whole ordeal with her having this kidney stone, we managed the pain with cannabis chocolate. And it completely changed my point of view, because before that, I didn't care one way or the other. I don't drink much. I never really got high. It wasn't my thing, but completely changed my point of view on it. So, no, I definitely understand where you're coming from. And I'm hoping that this is sort of I guess you'd say the beginning of the change,
Yeah. Well, you guys are so much darn cooler in Canada anyway. So.
That's true.
Yeah.
I do have an awful lot of friends. Once you get into the podcasting, I'm sure you found out that how many people that reach out and you get connected and you start learning and talking and finding out what everybody does. I've got a lot of friends in Canada now, and I just...
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and there just seems... And I'll tell you something else. You guys can... the shows, I don't know if you feel the same way, and I don't know if we're getting the paranormal shows that you're getting, or they're just sending them over here to us and they're your throwaways. I don't know. But I really dig the ones that come out of Canada. Ghostly Encounters is based in Canada.
Oh,
what a great show that was. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I feel like we have this weird thing in Canada where we don't really give a rat's ass about the people from Canada who produce great content.
Yeah.
If you're from Canada and you want any kind of recognition for your art, you go to America or you
Yeah,
go to Europe.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In Canada, you don't really have much recognition.
There's a couple of shows. I thought it was so funny because I would look to see, where they're coming from. They had a different feel. I'm with Ian and you on the historical aspects of it. I really like the old ones where they would tell about the town, they would tell the past, maybe a little reenactment or whatever, the historical figures or whatever that were going through their motions, or the ones like Ghostly Encounters. I've had it with watching people go through places, and it's been so long. How long have we had these? Paranormal, para-reality, whatever. Because, I like the ones that did the historical. I'm an old, In Search of Unsolved Mysteries. I love that.
Yeah.
And I really dig that.
There's a new In Search of coming out.
Have you seen it?
Is it good?
Yeah, I'm trying to give it time. I wanna love it. I wanna love it. So I'm going to give
Right.
it as much time. But I think when you remake something, you're already putting a couple of, stabs in it because everybody's going to right away go, oh, it's not like the old one. Just do something new.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
you're on your own. And then it can be accepted, I think. I don't know. I think they're really trying. I want to give it some more time.
I do like that guy. What's his name? Zachary Quinto.
Mhm.
Played Spock, Star Trek movie.
Mhm.
I quite like him.
I do too. I like the guy, but it's not. It's very rarely the person who's starring's fault. If they had done
Yeah,
it more
true.
like a what's it? Mysteries at the museum.
Unsolved Mystery.
Well,
no.
it's called Mysteries at the Museum is what it is. I forget what channel
Okay.
it's on. I don't know if you guys get it, but that's really cool. They'll take an
I've seen that
artifact.
one. Yeah, it is really good. Yeah,
I like
it's really
the way,
neat.
Yeah, I like the way they do it. They'll take an artifact and they'll tell you a little bit about it and the backstory, and it always comes home again. I love that kind of style. If they had done it something like that, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels a little bit more the feel and cinematography, everything like that feels for the new in search of, or it feels more like Fact or Faked.
Mm.
You know that
Oh,
feel?
okay. I don't know that one.
Okay, it's that kind of feel to me. I don't know. I want to love it, but I'm trying. Do
I think
you
the one
guys
thing that-
watch any of the shows? Is there any that you care to watch anymore?
I'm going to let Ian take this one. He watches a lot more of these things than I do.
Do
You
you?
know what? There's about 3 that I really love watching, and
Okay.
we don't get them on TV. I kind of have to seek them out on the internet.
Mhm.
One of them was My Ghost Story.
Love it.
Have you seen that one?
Love it.
Love that one. And because it is so kind of real, and then they do the reenactments.
Yes.
And they did a Canadian version of it, and it was actually pretty good, except I binge watched that one. It was on Netflix up here, and they kept using the same house as like, this is their house. And I'm like, that was in the last 3 episodes of quote unquote their house. So they were obviously recycling stock footage, and that kind of annoyed me.
That's funny.
The other one I really liked, and this one is out of the States, was the Dead Files.
Oh yeah, that's gotta be my top
and-
number one. Yep.
Yeah,
actually know
and I
Amy.
loved it because they did both sides, right?
Yes.
They had Amy doing the live
Mhm.
medium thing, and then they had the other grizzled cop dude doing the historical research.
Yeah.
And I love that one. And
Oh, yeah.
yes, you know what? I'm watching it going, oh, and now we do this part, and now we do this part. But
Uh-huh.
you know what? I didn't care.
Yeah.
I loved it so much. I
Mhm.
bought into the formula, hook, line, and sinker.
Right.
And I will admit, I would fast forward the part where Amy would describe, oh, he looked like this with these kind of eyes to the sketch artist. I would
Yeah.
fast forward that. 'Cause
Yeah.
who cares?
Yeah.
But I loved the reveal. I loved
Mhm.
the whole investigation on both sides. That one I really, really liked.
Mhm.
And then there was another one. It was like My Ghost Story, but it was called My Celebrity Ghost Story.
Oh.
And when you combine
Great show.
celebrities
Mhm.
and ghost stories, I mean,
Mhm.
come on, you can't do any better than that, right?
Favorite
I will-
all time. I'm sorry, I got to tell you,
Yeah.
Roddy Piper.
Roddy Piper is one of the greatest human beings to ever
Absolutely.
walk this earth.
I agree. And
You heard his podcast?
fantastic in a kilt. No.
Oh, it's amazing. It's still, obviously he's passed, but there's
Yeah.
still something like 60 or 70 episodes online that you can download.
I've got it.
Oh,
Right after we're
great.
done, I'm gonna dig it. I love Rowdy
Oh.
Roddy. I loved him when he was in the ring, and I loved his story. I loved when Kim Russo went and took him back, because then they did Celebrity Ghost Stories. I don't know if you know it, but they took Celebrity Ghost Stories, and then they took Kim Russo, and then she
Yes, I
revisited
saw that one. I
it.
loved that one.
I did.
I loved that.
I did
Yeah, it was
too.
really good.
Yeah, and she's a nice lady. She really is. I mean, she's gone up against a lot of stuff. They go, oh, we got her.
Yeah, yeah.
She's
The only
deal.
one, the only one I saw they really get was the lady, the Long Island medium.
Uh-huh.
There was a couple of investigations involving her, and they kind of busted her pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah.
did they?
Yeah,
I
that wasn't
don't
good.
know what to think about those, because, it's just like, okay, if I don't know how to explain it, but if you get them once, does that mean every other time they've been wrong?
I
And
agree
I'm
with
not
you.
sticking
No,
up.
I agree with you completely. I think where people lose patience
Uh-huh.
is when people feel pressured to provide consistent and
Mhm.
steady results, which of course we can't do.
Yeah,
Comes when it comes. It happens when it happens.
right.
But they turn themselves into almost a commodity or performer.
Yep, there you go.
And then they're forced into doing like a performing monkey.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they're going to have to start,
Yep.
faking some of it
sure,
because
yeah,
you're
no.
not going to have that much.
And I
happen.
think that's why Kim pulled out. Kim would rather do, like Amy.
Real work.
Like I mean, I don't know her. I don't go to her house for tea, but I've met her several times. I've talked. She's got my artwork hanging in her living room. I mean,
very cool.
I kind of know her a little bit. I've got to talk to her off to the side, several times. And, she's been in this for so many years. And she used to be a consultant. If you ever watched My Ghost Story or Paranormal Survivor, some of the older ones too.
Oh,
she's been a little, you'll see her where they ask, oh, here's our paranormal expert. And they'll say, well, sometimes a ghost gets very angry. And, that person, she's been on there.
Yep.
You can see her real young on there. But it's been in her family for her dad, which is odd because usually it follows the matriarchal, not the patriarchal. And it's her dad. And she just wants to do this because she feels like she's here and she wants to help. She really does. But they don't tell you that she'll walk 3 days on a property. They don't tell you that it's sometimes those reveals are 8, 9, 10, 11 hours long. They keep taking breaks and they have to go get lunch and they come back. They're edited into down 40 minutes?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And editing is a double-edged sword.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, of course, yeah. Because that's it. You can't. You have to edit. It's the nature of the beast. But at the same time, the editing then makes it all suspect.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Someone can say, well, this is X or Y.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to get. You're going to get the people who pick things apart no matter what you do, whether it's Long Island Medium or because I've known people that she's read. I'm not far from her. I've never met her, but I've known people that she's read where, they basically were in the same restaurant and she walked up and said, I got to tell you. And a lot of people call that, like almost like being a sniper. It's like you just bam, hit people. But you know what? What do you do if somebody's standing there telling you, I'm her mother, you got to go tell her I'm okay. Yeah. She's grieving. Yeah. That's a position you're put in. And you have to kind of say, I'm sorry if you think I'm crazy, but does this mean anything to you? I mean, I've been in that situation. What are you going to do? Yeah. So I agree across the board. You can't put anybody in the same categories. It's going to be people are going to be people. It's just like pictures now. How many times have you seen a picture and a full apparition and we don't know anymore?
Oh, I know. It's too easy to edit.
Yep.
Yeah, we had someone come to us with a picture, ask us to analyze it, and we said, no, I mean, unfortunately, that's not really what we do.
No.
And pictures are so suspect. I don't know that you can necessarily trust anything.
Yeah. There's a place for that now, and I often tell people you can get a hold of Jeremy and Enfinger, or you can get a place called the Black Vault. And what the Black Vault does, I think it's really cool. It's about time. They take it. You can find them. Just Google it. And they'll take it, and one guy will send it to just like one of the people in the group without telling them where it came from or who did it. It's all like, I don't want to say anonymous, but it's anonymous to them. And they put it through, and they analyze pixels and everything else you could do as a tech person analyzing pictures. And they send back the results just like it's a forensic study. And then it goes back to that guy, and then that guy, the person who sent it to him, he'll send the results to them and say, it doesn't look to us like this. It's been, messed with at all, altered in any way. They do that mostly. I think they started out with like UFO pictures, but then they started getting into the paranormal as well. So I've seen some of the ones that have come out of there. And they'll say, look, we can't find anything with this. And if it's questionable, then that guy will send it off to another one and not tell him anything about the study before. So there are people out here trying to come up with some ideas. But
it's almost like a DNA test for photographs.
Kind of, sort of. I mean, you
they
really, that's really cool. So, I mean, if you ever get people send you stuff like that, or at least look into it and then, see if you want to recommend it. Because I just thought that was a neat way to do it. Nobody is trying to help the little old lady. They have nothing of the backstory. There's no emotion in it. That's kind of cool. Because I remember being real young, going to the library, getting books and just staring at. You might get a book that had like 4 pictures in it, like the brown lady of whatever coming down the stairs, and you're like, wow, look at that. And I still do that because I don't No, you know, and then
Yeah.
you look at pictures and then you go watch a movie and watch Godzilla destroy New York, and I'm like, it looked real to me. So I don't know.
What's your opinion on orbs? How do you feel about orbs?
I think orbs, just like anybody else, could be just about anything. It could be bugs, it could be dust, it could be this. But if I see an orb and I'm watching a situation and say there's nobody moving around, there's no fan on, there's no air conditioning, there's no open windows, and this orb is doing zigzags and circles and circling over somebody's head and comes back and zooms back up and down, and it has like a little bit of more of an energy look to it, then I'm going to go, you know. And then again, you've got your phantom lights as well outside. We've all seen them or heard of them. You know, they go zooping in and out the trees. I'm going to tell you this right now. I have been looking into this 45 years since my first run-in with an angry ghost when I was just a kid.
Oh, wow.
And I promise you that I know very little now any more than I knew then. I mean, it seems like every time you get a question answered, 10 more questions pop up. So
yeah, of course.
I don't know enough to say nothing is possible, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's how I'm sitting at it, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think sometimes I've seen orb pictures and you're like, oh, you know, and then I've seen orb videos, and you know it's not just dust or an insect or something. There's something definitely different going on.
There's something.
But I think people get kind of caught up in the whole orb thing.
Well, I think because people are so desperate for something.
True.
You know, and to a point, I understand it. You spend, 6 hours frigging around in the dark. You're going to want to have something to show for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely
But
But there's too much out there with energy. I mean, it could be. I mean, if you know anything, and I don't, but I know, ball lightning. I watched a bolt of lightning come in one door, go around, and follow the wind, basically. The draft, and go around, make a complete U-turn, and go out the other door. And scarred
that
the
would be
floor.
Freaky.
Oh,
that would
yeah.
be really
Went
freaky.
right by us. Oh, you want to talk about scared? And bang! I mean, the sound, I've seen a lot of wild stuff. I mean, not a scientist, I don't, but I've seen things and you know what you saw. I've been in a dark cellar and asked the question, does anybody here want help? And had that little thing that lights up with I don't even know what they're called. I don't deal with equipment.
Oh yeah, like the EMF meter?
No, that one I kind of know, but it was round, had little lights around, it almost looked like a little UFO, and the voices come through it. Not the spelling, the voices. So you might get like 2 different frequency, but it actually came through and went, yes, please.
Oh wow!
Holy smokes!
And I was like, okay, cool, here we go. And then 2 behind us. The ones that come up with the words that actually spells a word. Now, you explain to me how it can transfer the energy from the spirit and spell a word. I don't understand that.
No idea.
But at the same time, 2 of them came up, help. 2 different machines.
Oh, wow. Then you definitely are kind of stuck doing something, right?
Something.
It's hard to walk away from that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
But I can't explain it.
No, and you know what? And that's the thing. I never feel like I have to explain anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you experience it, you interpret it as you want to, and you let it go. And the minute you start feeling like you are compelled to explain something, you're in a lot of trouble because you're never going to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of feel like so much of this is fundamentally unknowable that I think the second we think we have an answer, we're probably further away than we ever thought we were, I think
agree.
as soon as you decide this is this, then I kind of feel like, oh, shoot, now you're going to miss things because there's just so little we know.
It's true. And you know what? It's, we were talking about books and writing books, How would you feel if you wrote the greatest mystery of all time and everybody just wanted to read the last page of the book?
That's very true.
And the bullseye keeps moving, it seems. Like maybe we're not supposed to know. How many times have either one of you ever had, either through a device or your mind telepathically or any other thing, ever had a conversation with what you thought was a ghost?
I did one time. I used to work for the Episcopal Church, and I was in a chapel, and I was there to tidy it up, clean it up. And something was very, very upset that I was there. And I kind of call it my spidey sense. And I was feeling very strongly that some energy was there and it was very unhappy. And so I sort of lowered my guard a bit. And for me, it's not a conversation. I get pictures. I get a series of pictures, almost like you're having a whole stack of photos shoved up through the back of your head. And I was getting these pictures of a kid, like not young, like, teenager kind of kid. And I basically had to explain to him that I wasn't there to mess things up or break anything or, bother him. I was simply there to clean up. And I would go in there every week to do the same job. And eventually I started saying out loud when I would walk in the building, hi there, and his name was John, is what I got from him. And I'd say, hi, John. And then I'd clean up and I'd say, bye, John. And that seemed to keep him happy. But for him, he very much felt like it was his place. It was only his place. He didn't want other people in there. And especially as I was going in after sort of regular hours, I find that the atmosphere of a building can change after a certain time, especially when they feel like it's their time. And they don't want regular people around. They just want to have their own time there. So that's as close as I ever came. Like I said, I get pictures, I get impressions, and that's how they kind of tell me their story. But I oftentimes, honestly, because I've had this sort of ability since I was a little kid, I've learned to just sort of shelter myself off. And it's actually more work for me to now drop my guard than it is to, keep it up. So that's a plus, I guess. But
Well, it makes perfect sense. I mean, to me, how you're describing it, because sometimes I get stuff like that too. It's like you said, pictures.
Right, yeah.
And you talk to many psychic or medium friends or whatever, there's difference and there's combos, of different things.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you, this is my symbol for this. After time, they start getting used to what their spirit guides, whatever you want to call them, send them to tell you what this person is trying to show. So that makes perfect sense to me. And when I was younger, I used to see them and empathically feel their pain, which was bad.
Right. Yeah, that would be
fear,
bad.
All their emotions all at once, like zap, and hear them. But in some cases, the pictures too. So it was just so much coming at me at the same time that one time, I don't even remember why I decided to do it. I just said, look, I'm going to help, but you got to stop the seeing thing, because I can't talk to you with your arm hanging off and feeling all the pain.
That would be upsetting.
But like I See Dead People, the movie, what was it, Sixth Sense?
Yeah.
That poor kid. That's how it would happen. All of a sudden, you're just la-di-da-di-da, zap. And I'm like, whoa. And all of a sudden, you're feeling it. You're getting all their emotion, and you have to see it too. I couldn't concentrate.
No, I was lucky. I never saw it in my head in terms of them physically, but I would see them. It's hard to describe.
I do.
Right?
I get it.
It's so odd. But there's been a few times I've been in homes, like, looking for a new home, and walked into a house. And I remember one house in particular, very, very old house, and had been expanded quite a lot. And I walked into the house, and the realtor was there, and I looked at him, and I said, something is not right here. Something is really, really wrong. And he looked at me, and he kind of nodded, and I kind of dropped my guard a bit. And what I saw was a woman in a long, long skirt, her hair up in a bun, and she was pacing. She was super anxious. And she wasn't even aware who we were. She just knew something was wrong, and she knew something was changing. And she wasn't very happy about it. And she wasn't angry. That wasn't her nature. She was scared.
Right.
And I there wasn't really anything I could do for her. Like I said, she wasn't super aware that we were even there. She just knew something was there. But I was like, yeah, I'm not living here.
Sure.
That wouldn't be very relaxing.
Yeah. Brenda, have you ever had a conversation, what you would consider a conversation, however you would do it, with a ghost, or had any?
I don't know that I've ever had a conversation where I feel like they are speaking back to me exactly. I mean, certainly I've been in places where I will speak out loud because I feel as though there is something there. Actually, last time my house sat for Ian. I went over to water his plants, and the apartment building he lives in right now is haunted as hell. And I would walk in there and definitely feel like I needed to advertise the fact that it was just me. I'm just here to water the plants and feed the fish, and then I am leaving, because it did not want company.
Wow.
But I don't know that I've necessarily heard. I don't know. I'm very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not skeptical. Skeptical is the wrong word. I'm very, no, I guess skeptical of my own interactions with paranormal.
Right.
At least in terms of having direct conversations. I mean, I've certainly had some images, and definitely, I can know when I'm somewhere I should not be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I don't have anything as clearly delineated as pictures. Mine tend to be more emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say I'll feel X or Y. Years ago I was driving in rural Louisiana, and I think it was near Houma or Thibodaux rather, and all of a sudden I felt this weight on my chest, and I thought I was having a heart attack, and then I realized no, because I'm a hypochondriac. But I realized no, I came around a corner and I saw a bunch of preserved slave cabins, and I realized that's what I was feeling. I was it's heaviness associated with the pain and the misery that occurred in that area, and it had nothing to do with me. So I tend to, I tend to think that's. Sorry, one sec. No, there we go. Yeah, you can. There we go. I was just turning off. We were having a little bit of noise. So
That's
turning
okay.
Off
That's okay. I think you're more on the empathic, where you can feel it. You're definitely sensing, if you want to, gosh, we always try to put things, label things and stick them in our little file cabinets. And then we go, no, that one actually goes over here. Nope, it goes in both. Nope, 3 things. Because that's the subject, But, you're a little more empathic because you can pick up on those feelings. Like you said, when you were in Orleans, you could definitely feel energy change. You can feel the heaviness or the lightness of things. It can go the other way as well. It's just so many people have this. I think everybody has it to a certain degree, and it's all on how you exercise it, ignore it, work with it, don't work with it, just like anything else, the ability to maybe play a piano or a guitar or whatever. I think we all have a little bit of that, and we just start recognizing the signs a little bit more. And I think we had brought up, I really want to tell you this because I think it's so interesting. I really started, when I started talking to Kim Russo, we were talking about the happy medium and how she used to go back to the celebrities and explain to them what had happened, which I thought was so interesting. And I know people like that, and I've had those similar things happen. Where she would go, let's take Rowdy Roddy, for instance. He was very worried because his son was seeing something in the living room by the fireplace. And it was very scary to the young man because the young man didn't realize that this had been a wrestler friend of Rowdy Roddy. So right away, Roddy he wants to protect his child. And he's going through all that, the dad, and to be protective of him, and he never really had that from his dad because he was on his own since he was like 11 or something. I think he hit the streets. I could have that fact wrong.
He had a really bad childhood. I know he talked about it on one of his podcasts. He was abused quite a bit as a kid.
Yeah.
He told a story about being locked in the attic.
Oh, God.
Quite regularly. That was what happened.
Yeah. And he was such a good dad, and he, even closer to that. But the image that he was seeing was actually a wrestler friend of his that had passed, and I forget his name now. But he also not only came back, so actually Roddy would kind of do that and spend more time with his kid and be protective over his kid because he was starting to pull away a little because he was having his own issues. And kind of hang out there because Roddy was having those feelings too, like I shouldn't be here, I need to check out. They'll be better off without me kind of stuff. And he kind of took everything wrong. He was scared of what was going on. And once it was all explained to him, not only was the spirit, I'm going to say spirit at this point because he wasn't stuck. He wasn't a ghost. He was coming to visit and help out, I guess. Once it was explained to him, they were like, wow, we were so wrong about all this. And I think that happens a lot. We misunderstand.
I agree completely. I think that because I think we're hardwired to look for threats as a species, and so I think we interpret all these things as potential threats, and I don't think they necessarily are, but I think because we're and honestly I think sort of mainstream Christianity plays into this because it leans so heavily into the whole demonic thing.
Well, and if we don't understand something, it's bad.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
right?
it is. Yeah,
That's
and it's
how we go.
If it's bad, it therefore must be demonic by definition,
and should be destroyed.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And we're scared, and we're scared of it because we're always scared of what we don't understand.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No. I think it's normal to be afraid, but I think it's important to
move through the fear.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I like to say I'm terrified pretty much every day of my life. Just I'm afraid of practically everything. If I stopped every time I was afraid, I'd just do nothing.
Oh, I'm a screamer. I'm not going to run, but I'm going to stand there and I'm going to scream and I'm going to scare you too, because I think I learned that when I was in the Army, because I would just lash out. Like, my poor ex-husband used to come up behind me and he had this little thing. I don't know what he thought he was doing or why he thought it was a good idea. But he would come up behind me and just poke you in both the ribs, like, and go, bah! Like that. And I turned around and busted his nose, and I'm like, you got to stop doing that. Are you going to stop it now? It's no longer fun because of your reflexes. So you try to find other ways to get that reflex out because you're going to react. Right. And like today, I know it sounds so funny, but I want to tell you this so my listeners, they go, who does she think she is? She can walk into a cellar in the dark and all that. Yeah, but I'm prepared for that at the time. And I've got other stuff with me guiding me to do it. It's not that I'm fearless. If it was just up to me, I'd be running down the street screaming, and then I'd come back again and I'd probably scream and run. And it would take that a couple times. But
yeah, you got to go through the cycle.
My son was coming around the corner, and I'm just Febreze and stuff, I'm just spraying and I'm cleaning the house and all this other stuff, and he just pops up out of nowhere. I must have sprayed him 3 times before I stopped screaming.
Well, at least he smells good now.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, he's just so fresh. But he's standing there going, Mom, it's me, but it takes you a minute. And I'm like, God, I'm glad that wasn't a gun, because I'd just be pulling the trigger until I realized, And
that's true.
But yeah, that's true. So, but I think when we do, if you do go on, like you take people on the ghost tours, and, you have to try to get that feeling up, and, you're not just telling history, you're telling the part about the stories and stuff. I've often wondered, first of all, there's the people listening, and they want to be a little scared. They're coming for that, just by the story alone. But I wonder how the ghost feels about it. If they are there and they're hearing their story retold over and over again, I wonder how they feel about it. I guess it depends on how it's told.
It's funny you say that, because I actually had one ghostly experience doing the ghost walk. So I've been doing them for 4 years, and I was taking people down. It was a familiar route. It was Halloween time. We put, we go through about 400 people a night on Halloween. And there's a story I tell at the top of the alley, and then I have to shoot down the one alley to turn right into the next alley. And I want to try and make sure, the alley's clear of, like, street people and people peeing and things like that.
Or at least they're peaceful street people.
Peaceful peeing street people.
Yeah.
And so I'm very, very focused on moving very quickly. I let the group follow me down there, but I need to get down there first. And as I was shooting down the side alley, something right up close to my ear said, Ian, in my ear. And it startled me, and I looked, and of course there's nothing there. But I'm so focused on getting to the bottom of the alley so I can look up the other way, I didn't even really register it. I got down to the bottom of the alley. I look, okay, good, it's all clear. And then I went, whoa. Wait a minute. And it did tie in with a story that we don't normally tell down there, about a man who was part of a chain gang. The alley used to be a main thoroughfare from the prison to the rest of Fort Victoria. And they used to chain gang the prisoners together and then take them out to dig ditches or, whatever they were going to be doing. And this one man, his nickname was Limey, and he used to go through there all the time. Because he was always getting drunk, getting in a fight, going to jail for 30 days. This is sort of his cycle.
The English, am I right?
And so he said something to one of the guards, and they hit him in the head with a stick, a truncheon, and they killed him. And the guard was so angry about this, he said to the other prisoners, I don't care, drag him back. And he made them drag Limey's body back to the prison. And now in that alley, the things that happen there, people hear the chains dragging. Limey will come up right next to your ear and he'll cough. So you'll just hear a right in your ear. And they'll sometimes see a shadow kind of looming out of the archways of the alleyway. So it didn't all come together for me right away. It's not like this thing went in my ear and I'm like, oh, it's a ghost. How delightful. I didn't even register it. And it wasn't until I was at the bottom of the alley putting it all together. And I'm like, whoa, like not only did he make contact with me, he knows my name. And I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, I'm not okay with that.
No, but so it's funny because, I think a lot of times in certain places, the ghosts do hear hear you tell their story. And I wasn't the only one. We had another guide who had a different experience with a group of psychics down there. And they all saw him. They looked over the guide's shoulder, and the guide said he could feel something coming up behind him. And he looked, and there was nothing there. But all the ladies were looking over his shoulder. And he said, he's behind me, isn't he? And they all nodded. And then he felt whatever it was go away. And he said, he's gone now. And one of the ladies said, yes, he's never gotten that close to you before. He wanted to know what you were saying about him. So that guy, Limey, he is totally down there in that alley. The rest of the places, I don't know. I mean, people feel different things at different places. But for me personally, in 4 years of doing all the different tours we do, that's the one place where not just me has had a consistent experience.
Well, then that's a stone's throw from where our first studio was.
Yeah, Bastion Square.
Yeah, and that
crazy haunted.
Yeah, that place was something else. I mean, I worked in that building for the better part of 6 years, and we had the studio in there for the last, I guess, year of that. And man alive, yeah, it was an active place. We would get shadow people. We would get we would do a show, and it would be fine. We'd start about 6 o'clock at night, and by the time the building emptied and we were finishing up about 8:30. You could just feel that the room had filled up with other presence.
Yeah, the whole building feel had changed.
Yeah, we sort of eventually reached kind of an equilibrium with it. We sort of we actually at the
it was you made peace with it, really.
Yeah, at the recommendation of a listener, we opened up sort of I guess call it a circle of some kind, and I reached out and sort of I guess it's one of the few times I could say I have actually had what feels like a direct conversation with something that I can't see, because it basically told me to stop saging, because we used to sage to try and clear it out, and this thing said, stop doing that. I'll take care of that. You know, I'll keep the place clear. Just stop saging, because the saging is annoying to me. I didn't say it in those words, but that was the sentiment.
Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, the building felt, or at least our office felt completely different after that.
It really did.
Yeah, it was, we could be in there all the time. But the person who spoke to us also said that there was a secondary entity that was not so accommodating. And certainly we also felt that. And
definitely
that when that was around, didn't matter how great the terms we were on with the other spirit, that one was not having it. And I think we were meant to make peace with that thing, because shortly after we did that, the company we were, because we had a studio, but we were sort of piggybacking on someone else's office space, and they lost their lease about, I want to say, not even a month after that happened. So I almost feel like we were there long enough to make peace with this thing, and as sort of a lesson. And then it was time to move on. And I mean, certainly we've had continued interactions in our new spaces, because we've been in a couple different studios. It's almost like we are drawn to these places,
well,
whether or not we want to.
They're also drawn to the light. They're also drawn to you. I mean, first of all, if they're aware of your abilities or your light, or at least the fact that you're aware that they could be,
right.
It's different levels. Some ghosts just don't have a clue. There could be one in the corner right now, not even aware you're there, doesn't know where it is. It's seeing whatever it's seeing, going through what it's going through. There could be 50 of them in a room, and 4 of them kind of know about the other ones aren't sure. I mean, it's just so many. There's so many levels.
Yeah.
And like I said, we try. I think as human beings, we are very. If I could just put it in a category and understand it, then I can deal with it a little bit better. And then we keep adding categories, and then you find out not so much, because the thing I think that gets me. I'm extremely compassionate when it comes to this, and animals, the lost, I guess, the strays, and I think I was a bartender. I had to deal with jumpers a lot. Are you guys aware? You might have another name for them, but I called them jumpers. And,
jumpers.
Well, basically, let me explain what I call them. It's basically someone who really liked the atmosphere, really liked to drink, maybe drugs. Like to fight, play pool, just like the atmosphere, the music, and was either died there, close to there, or was drawn there because of the atmosphere still, because I was a bartender.
Right.
And what jumpers will do is they have found the ability, they're human, they were human, and they have the ability to pick somebody in the crowd that's weak enough or depressed or whatever, for whatever, I call them cracks in your windshield. You got cracks in your protection, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And they can, it's somebody they can jump in real quick, so they can get a taste of alcohol, or get in a bar fight, or pinch somebody's butt, or
Right.
fool around.
I respect that.
Yeah, do whatever. Yeah, just screwing around and have a little fun and get their taste of alcohol or, like in some case, like I said, drugs or something like that. And then pop out and move on. And the person has no idea. They just think oh man, I got a headache from drinking this, I had one called a shot of tequila, no salt. And that's the only way I knew this ghost. I worked there probably 4 years. I don't know if you guys want to hear this. This is your time, but it's a great story.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm working at the bar, and I was just out of the Army, and I was right across from the Army base. So we used to get a lot of military coming in, and they would be TDY staying at the hotel, and I ran the bar in the hotel. So in the afternoon, I'd get all the guys that were coming off of, that were staying at the hotel and would come in, and sometimes they'd be there 2-3 weeks, sometimes months away from home. Well, I had this one guy, and he was missing home so bad. He was a great dad, and he was had been away from home, I guess, maybe 6 weeks, and missed his kids. Just a nice guy, And he had to finish his job before he could go home. And he was sitting there telling me he would come in every day and he would do the same thing. He'd order hamburger. He would take the takeout to his room. He'd have a couple beers, eat some peanuts, talk about his kids and his wife, and go up to his room, go to work, and repeat it like every couple of days. So
Right.
I kind of sort of knew him. He sits down and he's starting the same thing. And he's telling me about putting together this swing set that he had done before he had left for the kids. And, oh, gosh, I hope they're using it and hope that his wife remembered to, all these different family memory things.
Right.
And he said he was really hungry, and I gave him some takeout stuff. And I'm just opening the bar and putting the tops in the bottles. And he's telling me this story. And I look up in the mirror, and I see this, like, kind of I want to say gray mist. But I honestly thought, because I'm looking in the mirror looking at him, because he's behind me at the bar. And I'm thinking, man, I got to really clean that mirror. And I'm listening to him go on about his story about the swing set and, depressed he misses his kids and stuff. And I'm just going on about my thing. And then he says something to me, and I said, well, just order the food, and I'll have the manager bring it up to your room. No problem, man. And I turn around and look at him, and he just puts both hands, like kind of slaps the bar, and his head's down, and he looks up, and his whole face, I don't want to say it changed, but the expression on his face had changed. Not his face changed, but just the expression.
Yep.
He started rolling up his sleeves, and he looks at me, and he says, shot of tequila, no salt. And I went, what? I mean, this guy just had a headache. I mean, he was hungry. He wanted to order food, and all of a sudden, whoosh, the change. So this goes on. I said, you have a choice, and he's like, Cuervo. Fine.
Ugh.
Give it to him. He drink. I know. I give him the shot, takes it down. Then he goes through in his pockets like he's looking for something, pulls out some money, goes, change for the pool table. I mean, his voice, his mannerisms, everything, his body language.
Okay.
He goes over to the jukebox, puts on a song, starts dancing around with a pool stick. He's playing pool, and I'm going, what the heck? Right?
Yeah.
A couple more people come in. I go about my day. I'm setting up. He comes back up, and I said, hey, man, you sure you don't want something to eat? Because, and I'm trying to help this guy. Shot of tequila, no salt. Does it again. Goes back and plays some pool. And now I have to go back and get some beer. I come up to the bar, and, I'm just going about my thing because I can't stop this guy, right?
No.
He sits down, and the next time I see him, he's got his head down on the bar, and I said his name. I said, man, are you okay? Are you sure? I really want to get you something to eat. He looks up at me, and he goes, Cisco, honey. He goes, I don't feel good. I don't think I'm going to order anything. I just got to get up to my room. And he's back.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
And I look past him, and right over the pool table, I see this little bit of a gray mist, and woof, right through the doors back to the kitchen. And I went, son of a gun. Jumper.
Wow.
Jumper.
It makes sense, though. It makes sense. I think the term jumper, that's a really good term for
That's
it.
just something I
Wasn't
came
there
up.
some kind of phenomenon, walk-ins?
Yeah.
There's some philosopher, not philosopher, but some guy who writes books now, or did in the past through self-help type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But he claims that he'd lost, I don't know, a couple 100 pounds. He used to be quite a big guy. But he claims that a spirit, basically, that he's a different spirit, that he sort of approached the person who was in this body who was quite overweight and quite unhappy, and basically said, do you want to swap seats?
Yeah.
And this thing, the original spirit said, yeah, sure, brother, tag, I'm out.
Yep.
And this other spirit walked in and got fit and became this sort of guru. And so I've kind of heard of that, but the jumper thing is fascinating though, because I know which culture is it? The realm of the hungry ghosts. The idea that
Japan.
No, I don't think it's
the hungry ghost.
Maybe I'm not sure.
It's Asian. It's definitely Asian. It's either Japan or Korea or
Oh, maybe
China.
Korea.
Yeah. But anyways, they believe that that sort of addiction can possibly come in some cases from these places where these things are just constantly looking to feed and to and I think it's a fascinating idea. I mean, we covered a story on the show. I think it was on episode 42, the Shadow People episode, the Return of the Living Shadows, where someone actually invited a shadow into their body.
Ooh.
And this, not a great plan. Excuse me. And so they did this, and it would sort of do ride-alongs, kind of like one of these jumpers, I guess. But then after a while, it started taking the keys without asking. And this person would kind of wake up and go, well, "Hang on, I didn't say that was okay."
Yeah.
And eventually commanded the thing out, because the hell with this noise.
Well, see, this is the thing, Brennan, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but man.
Oh, no.
Like they get in and the person has no, recollection of anything. This poor guy had no recollection. I mean, to the point of I used to write down the tab, like I'd write down one beer, yada, yada, and then charge him after it because I knew these guys who stayed at the hotel. So, I scratched the tequila off like he didn't order that. I mean, I literally did it. I wasn't going to charge him for something he had no idea. I've never seen that guy drink.
That's amazing.
Like that, a beer. I'd be lucky if he finished the beer. He's a family guy. He really just had a little routine. And I seen it pop up in other people that were there.
Wow.
I remember leaving one night. This is funny. You're going to laugh. I remember leaving, and I had to get somewhere real quick. I think I was, I had to go pick up a kid or something. And my bartender, the person that was closing came in, and we were splitting tips. And, I was telling her about everybody's tabs and showing her everything. And this lady comes up, this little lady that you would never expect, somebody's mom. This lady. And she leans over and she slaps the bar and she looks at my friend who was bartending and she says, "Shot of tequila, no salt." And I looked at her and I said, "She's going to need change for the pool table." Grabbed my purse and left.
That's awesome.
I mean, because he hung out there, and at the time, what do? You can't go up and say, "Hey, excuse me, but you have a ghost in you."
No, you really can't.
That's a hard sell.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Can't. You just kind of let it play out.
Yeah. I have a medium friend who went to a bar, Mackey's. And
of course.
Oh, yeah. She was up there, and she doesn't really advertise this story much because they were saying, don't let any of the ghosts go, which ghosts aren't pets. So,
Right.
So she just let them go. She was getting everybody out and just said, "Oh, yeah, they're still here. They're happy, yada, yada." Because there was plenty there who didn't want to go. Who's going to know the difference? Cross who you can, whatever. So she's doing that, and she goes upstairs, and she's sitting at the bar, and she's just having ice water, and all of a sudden these 4 ruffian ghosts come in and just knocking each other and poking, just like a gang of guys coming in and having a good time, and she's looking at them, and basically they were jumpers. And she was talking to him and saying, "Look, you don't have to stay here." And he goes, "We're not leaving. They love to bar fight. They love to cause the bar fights and stand back and watch the guy go, why did I do that?"
Yeah.
So isn't that creepy? Not all
that's
blackouts are
pretty
caused
wild.
by alcohol.
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense. A lot of these guys are going to be all down for the bar brawls and that kind of thing, right? Like you live in death the way you lived in life, I suppose.
Yeah, but you wonder, like, how long can they do it? What's this energy thing about? Does energy dissipate? There's so many. That's why when people come and they say, "Look, I'm an expert in this, and a ghost is only going to last for so many years before the energy dissipates," and I'm like, no, I don't know. I think it's all different. I don't think
I agree, and I
set.
think it also depends on what they're able to feed off of too. Like, there's a lot of belief about water sources. If there's running water or water nearby, that's an energy source for them. So, how do you come up? Can you come up with some sort of mathematical formula
I don't think you can.
how long a ghost is going to last based on the environmental conditions?
Yeah, I mean, I had somebody on not too long ago that said that they communicated with, and they weren't ghosts. They were visiting back because they were calling, "Is there anybody here?" And it was a sacred place, and they went back a couple of thousand years.
Wow.
And they were speaking the language of the people that were there. It was amazing. Yeah, and they had to go back afterwards and try to figure out what language is this, and then to get, okay, wow. So was that a ghost? And they were no, and they said that they weren't stuck there. They were coming back to visit because they were asking for what were these symbols on the cave, what were this, and they came to tell them about it. So I don't think if there's a rule book, it's awful thick, man.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're ever going to really know. I think we just need to take whatever our little piece is and deal with it and try to do whatever it is that we were here to do, if you know what I mean. Tell the stories.
Oh, sure.
Tell the stories.
I think that's... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, you.
I was going to say, I think that's what we try to do over on our podcast, the Ghost Story Guys. I think we try to help people who are having these experiences make some kind of sense and feel as though, okay, this is not unusual. I'm not going crazy. I'm not a weirdo. This is just another part of the world that we don't yet understand. And I kind of think that we never really will. I think that's part of the point. I think that as we sort of finish up here, I think it's important to recognize that I think generally we're not meant to engage with this stuff on an everyday basis. I don't think it, because I don't think it enriches our lives. I mean, you talk to someone like Travis Walton, who's had it's a UFO experience, and I know a lot of. Oh yeah, he's great, but him. I mean, he it seems like he's one of those guys who can say sort of firsthand experience, this hasn't really enhanced my life. Like a lot of these guys. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know a lot about his case. But I'd say he's an interesting guy, but I know a lot of people who have these intense paranormal experiences and talk about them. It's not like people are coming out of the woodwork to tell them how great they are. If you tell someone you saw a UFO, you saw a spirit, people talk to you like you're nuts. And so I think, I almost think this is something that's happening it's happening around us, but I don't know that we're necessarily meant to focus on it. I think there are some people who are meant to. I think this is sort of you're here to act as sort of a middle ground, like your show. You help people connect and you sort of help them understand and bring their stories to other people. And I think that allows other people to make some kind of sense of this. And I think that's what you're meant to do. But I think for most people, we're just not meant to focus on it, if you know what I mean. And so I think, again, over on our show, I think we try and help people make some kind of sense of it and then hopefully move on with their life and not stay on it. Because I know this can't happen. I mean, certainly it's happened to me. When I've had a paranormal experience, you kind of focus on that and that's what you think about now. And you want to know more about it, you want to identify it. Obsessed. And again, I don't necessarily know that's super healthy. I think it can be. I think if it's helping you process your emotions, but I think if you're kind of hung up on the thing, I think that sort of holds you back in a way.
I agree 100%. I know people that have been through horrible situations, and then I've tried to create, and I know you guys too, almost like a paranormal chain of help. Like if somebody really called you right away, 3-4 names pop into your head now. I know somebody out in that area. Let me go ahead and see if he'll let me give you an email, that kind of thing.
Right.
Reached out to the 2 people that I knew could help, and they said, nope, he's obsessed with it. It'll never let him go. We could do whatever, we could go in there and the minute we leave, bam, it's going to call it right back. And that's something that people need to really think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's a house here in Victoria where I know the people who live next door, and it's I think it's a thin spot of some kind, and I think definitely shadows kind of come and go through there, and I know the fellow who used to live there is obsessed with it. He whatever was there had a really seriously negative effect on his psychological health, and he was locked up for a time, and even now that he's ostensibly, been given a clean bill of health, he is still obsessed with the house. And I think that's very much a danger.
Absolutely. It'll consume you. Literally.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Literally. People don't realize they get into this, they go out, they provoke. I know many of people, we know, we could start naming names, so let's not, but they go and they provoke. And I tried to explain it to somebody. I said, look, it's really cool to stand on the shore and make fun of the sharks. If you ever wind up in the water, you're not going to be the one laughing anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
You're going to be in their territory, and eventually they've got all the time in the world to wait. That, my friends, is scary.
Oh, that is, I think, the scariest thing. The vastness of the unknown.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And I know you guys are so busy tonight, and if you got to go, if you want to tell a quick story that's your favorite, like I love to ask people on the show, if you have been in this and you've looked and you've had experiences, what's the best thing you've learned from the dead about living? You want to answer that one?
I don't know that I've had much interaction with the dead exactly, but certainly I've learned just to focus less on the things that I think we tend to get hung up on, which is stuff that doesn't really matter. Money or status or power.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, these things don't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're born, you live, you die, and I mean, regardless whether you. And this is not exactly groundbreaking stuff. I mean, I'm not I'm not writing a self-help book here, but yeah, I just find that if you got a rich guy or a strong guy or whatever, who is you feel like they're somehow better than you or whatever, really you crack them across the head, they're going to die just as fast as anybody
Yep.
else. It's folks, and I think that's the biggest thing is just live the best life you can. Never let anyone hold you back. Never let anyone tell you you can't do something, because you will regret it, and that carries through. Mm-hmm. More than anything else, I think regret is what weighs us down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. I think what I've felt from people is the regret,
Mm-hmm.
and also the letting go of grudges, letting
Mm-hmm.
go of foolish things with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing is, and I know again this isn't groundbreaking either, but how short life is in
Yes.
comparison. And I think the more you study history, the more you realize that to us, 200 years ago, that was so far. To those people, they felt exactly the way we do now.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I have a big issue I'm grappling with in my own life, I'll go to the graveyard, because it puts everything in context. Is, in 100 years, is what I'm grappling with right now going to matter? No. And
True.
I think, and that helps me. I find graveyards very calming and soothing. And sometimes you run into spirits who are there, and it's not because it's spooky, I'm haunting a graveyard. I think for some of them, they don't know what else to do.
Mm-hmm.
They
and
don't
also,
know what else
too,
to
you
go.
connect into their energy. So
Yeah.
they're not, they might not be stuck there, but they know somebody recognized them. They came back and went, "Hey,
Yeah.
I know that's happened with Maddie Earp a lot too. I have somebody that's trying very hard to get her Wyatt Earp's wife that basically was abandoned, and
Right.
that poor woman is still walking around and blaming herself for everything. And they're really, really trying to work. It's like therapy, I guess, but it's
ghost therapy.
yeah, and and it's so weird because you think, okay, you're all out here trying to help ghosts and stuff like that, and why don't you go help the homeless? Why don't you go help this? And it sounds so funny, but I think a lot of people who listen to our shows, and this is just a theory, but they've all got that death, what's on the other side thing going on, or if they have grief, they want to know their loved ones are okay or their pets are okay, and that's all very natural. But there's also that thing is they don't want to be a ghost. They want to, tell me how, 101, Ghost Prevention 101,
Right.
forgive yourself, that's the hardest. Let it go. Tell those that you care about them that you do, for Pete's sake, life is short. You both said it, and just do the best you can, just do the best you can, and let the regret go, and don't get all caught up in all that. A lot of ghosts that I see, they're afraid to go over because, like, I've seen hell. I don't want to go over there. This is bad enough, It's just crazy. I think it's all energy. I think it's as individual as the person or the ghost or whatever. There's definitely entities out there, and people, honestly, you just don't want to mess with them. Stop it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I agree.
Stop
yeah,
it.
absolutely. We've both seen those.
I have never gone looking for them.
No, and it's just like we both mentioned, Amy. Amy will come on and go, "This is ancient. You just don't understand. You don't have any. It was here long before us. It will be long after, And there's people that just want to get in there and poke that, and I'm just like, oh. Stop it.
Yeah, no, I've had some experience with those things. That's not something.
No.
I mean, it generally doesn't care about us, or they generally don't care about us. But if you annoy it, I mean, they'll care.
Yep, peace, dude. Peace. I'm moving on.
Yeah.
I got.
Go your way.
There's nobody here. I'm just moving through. And just go on, keep doing your thing. And people just don't realize that that's absolutely true. There was more. like, I hate to bring that up, but there's more things in heaven and earth than dreamt in our philosophy. We'll never understand some of this stuff.
Absolutely.
That's right.
We'll
Well,
never
thank you.
understand.
Thank you
Yes.
so much for having us on tonight.
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
This is a lot of fun.
Anytime. Please tell us where to get your stuff and where to get the podcast and your books, please.
Sure. Our podcast, Ghost Story Guys, publishes every 2 weeks. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, CastBox, and pretty much everywhere else podcasts live. Our website is ghoststoryguys.com. You can find, I'm on Twitter at Largely the Truth, on Instagram as well. Ian is slowly waking up to the digital world, so he's not really on either of those things.
I'm more on Facebook.
Yeah, he's more on Facebook. You can find my book, A Strange Little Place, everywhere fine books are sold.
Not really.
No, mostly on Amazon. Mostly
yeah,
on Amazon.
yeah.
It's cheap now.
And my book, Victoria's Most Haunted, again,
Ooh.
it's going to be on Amazon and Indigo and all these sorts of book sites.
Far out.
I think it's like $4.50 or something on Amazon right now.
No, it's
No,
not.
I checked the other day.
It's free with a gallon of gas.
Yeah,
Oh,
pretty
man,
much.
yeah.
That's
That
how
is
it's
so
going to
cool.
end up.
That is so cool. Listen,
take it
guys, it's been so much fun. I promise you, I'm going to go get the big spoon out of the drawer and start digging my tunnel to Canada. I have got to come. I have got to come and hang out with you guys. It's just been an absolute
Well, we'll have a
pleasure.
coffee waiting for you when you get here.
Something a little stronger. Just not Cuervo, because come on.
No, I'm not drinking that garbage. I'm a Boston Lager girl. I got to bring my beer with me. You don't have Boston Patriot beer there.
No, that's true. I got some El Jimador in the cupboard, but
Thank you so much for spending this time. I appreciate it.
All right.
And please come back
Thank you.
on again soon.
sure.
Take care.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much to the Ghost Story guys for just having a nice chat and, just cozy, comfy ghost conversation. It was just lovely. And I thank Brennan Storr and Ian Gibbs again. Get their books, listen to the podcast. It's a great podcast. I go back and forth and just, getting opinions. It's fresh and they have a lot of great guests on. I highly recommend it. That's the Ghost Story Guys, Into the Darkness We Go, and you're going to find that on all your podcatchers and their website, okay? And ghoststoryguys@gmail.com if you want to send in stories or be a guest there too, and I thank them very much. Also, don't forget, 10% off with code Cisco on Scotty the NJ Medium. Now that's ScottyTheNJMedium.com. You can also find him on Facebook, but don't forget to tell him that Cisco sent you because you're going to get a percentage off. You can also go on his website and find out all kind of psychic development tips and mediumship skill tips and things like that. That's all that information is free on his website. A lot of great reviews. Anybody that's ever got a reading or a home visit from Scotty and his PARS, the Investigative Paranormal Group, he's got great reviews on that. He's really helping a lot of people. So don't forget that code. He's a really good guy, and I think you're going to really enjoy getting a reading from him. Also, don't forget tpublic.com. Crispy is on our logo. That's our little mascot ghost. You can get him on cups and notebooks, and there's just so much different art there, cover art. I'd rather be ghost hunting, all these different things. It's not just the logo. We have, I think it's 14, 15 different designs there now. And a little bit of that goes to help keep this podcast free for you guys. There's, some costs and everything else, and it's just me. So, and me and Crispy. So, that I appreciate everybody who's done that. The mugs are coming out really great. The stickers look great. They're different. Some of them are shaped and squared and all different sizes. You can even pick your size that you want. So we appreciate that very much. If you have a story or would like to be a guest or a guest suggestion, you can contact us at journeythroughthegate@gmail.com and also on Facebook. Journey Through the Gate Paranormal Portal Podcast Gatekeepers. There's 2 pages. The Gatekeepers is our group page. That's our discussion group. You can ask your questions. You can talk to all the other gatekeepers. There's a lot of knowledgeable people on there, a lot of helpful people for just about any kind of aspect to this wonderful paranormal subject. We've got mediums and psychics and, there's even a few exorcists and things on there. Just wonderful vast people. There's people that just about everybody on there has had an experience of some kind. They're very helpful. Look at pictures, ask your questions, or get on there so you can help somebody. That's how all this works. So we really appreciate everybody on there, and I appreciate each and every one of my listeners. Share the podcast. We are on Conflict Radio on YouTube. We're in a fantastic family of podcasts on there, if you get your podcasts that way. And we are also on Black Swamp Radio. That